it is 7 o'clock, so would like to call to order the Monday, August 11th Mayor and Town Council Meeting for Sykesville. If we could all stand for Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Moment of silence. Okay. Okay, so are there any public concerns, any additions to the agenda this evening? Anything that's not on the agenda that you'd like discussed? Okay. Yeah, so we'll recognize the visitors. I guess, shall we get to recognize the visitors first? Okay, so we have some very distinguished guests with us this evening. The Boy Scouts from, not sure of the whole troop, 224, we got 582, 883. Is that it?
Three different troops.
So 3 different troops here tonight. So we got David Franceschi, first class scout. Nick Crutchfield, Mr. John Kinsley, Carson Dunker, Jason Dunker, Christopher Day, Mr. David Day, Arjanel Dar. Did I get that right? Yes. Close. Miss Somadar. And then Evan McCarthy and Mr. Mike McCarthy. Okay, so we'd like to welcome you all tonight. Any other special guest? Okay. Minutes from the last meeting from July 14th. Has everybody had a chance to review the July 14th minutes?
Yes.
Everybody okay with those? Any comments?
Motion to approve the July 14th minutes.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I must abstain, I was not at the meeting.
Okay. So the minutes are approved with 1 abstention. That's good. That's awesome. You're learning from her. That's pretty awesome. Okay, and then our reports. Public safety report, Chief? Yes, sir.
Evening, everybody.
Evening.
Evening.
I'd like to welcome the Boy Scouts here. I want to recognize one young man that interviewed me at the National Night Out the other night. I recognized him sitting here. He did a very good job of interviewing me, and he was with his father, and appreciate him taking the time to get to know me a little bit. So thank you. Job well done. We're going to go over the public safety report for July 10th to August 6th. We had 10 assist state police or sheriff's office or Howard County Police Departments, 4 alarms, 1 animal bite, 1 animal complaint, 1 assault, 1 assist citizen, 1 civil offense, 1 disorderly conduct, 2 family trouble incidents, 1 fire, 2 follow-ups, 187 foot patrol or patrol checks or crossing details, 1 forgery or credit card fraud, 1 harassing stalking complaint, 2 juvenile complaints, 1 mental transport, 1 destruction of property, 6 miscellaneous calls, 3 motor vehicle collisions, 1 noise complaint, 5 parking violations, 2 police infos, 1 sex offense, 1 sudden death, 6 suspicious persons or vehicles, 4 thefts, 2 traffic hazards, 10 traffic offenses, 2 violations of town ordinance, and 1 welfare check, for a total of 262 cases or incidents, which I should note is a 32% increase from the last time. So the officers are definitely out there, they're doing their jobs, and I think we're seeing the results of that. So With that said, I would open it up to any questions.
Any questions for Chief Spalding?
I don't know.
Me neither.
I already asked about this, but I'd like to express some concern about number 85, the incident with the elopement from Springfield. I understand what you told me, but I think with someone that's prone to assault, I think we need to work on some other notification possibly with Springfield.
Sure. I have reached out to the chief over there, and to be honest with you, I'm not very familiar with those agreements or understandings, but it will be something that I'll look into and see if we can get some clarification and maybe some better response procedures and protocols. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Chief.
And I would just like to recognize the chief and the other officers that came for National Night Out. I happened to look over this booklet that was put together afterwards, and I'm very disappointed to say Sykesville Police Department is not mentioned in here, nor is the chief.
Didn't notice that.
Our mayor made it in here, but, you know, all the other organizations are in here, so that was very disappointing. We were mentioned on the Beck's flyer that was inserted, that was it. So I think we should possibly say something to Ellen Dix about that.
Well, she did seem very appreciative that we were there, of course. And I think this year, I don't know that we're an afterthought, but we kind of were brought into it a little late in the game. But I'm going to make sure that next year, since I'll be here, you know, for a full year, that we're brought in from the very beginning and have a little higher billing, if you will. So, and while we're on that subject, I want to thank the mayor and town manager and the other members of the council who showed up that night to support us. It was a great showing and a turnout, and myself and the other officers appreciated it.
Yeah, so like you said, I think Ellen put together some stuff, and I know she was very grateful for all your help on that. She had mentioned it several times that she was very appreciative of your efforts, and I really appreciate it. I thought it was pretty awesome, and, you know, actually, I think we get more attention there than some of the other stuff, so,
I thought so.
yeah, so, I really appreciate it, and then I'm certain that was just probably an oversight or a preparation, you know, when they were doing it, so I'm sure she'll put us up there. I think the partnership with it's been great, you know, so, and I wanted to thank the chief for getting involved in that early, so, it was a great night, man. The
thought so.
chopper came late, the chief got the
come.
chopper
Better
to
late
come,
than
but
never.
it
For
came late.
those who stuck around for it, you got to climb on board and talk to the pilots.
Yeah,
and
so it was
that
pretty
good.
wild, yeah, seeing that thing land is something else.
I mean,
so.
next year they'll come first instead of
Right,
last.
well, did you put our order in already? That's how I say, put it in now,
I
and
have done
they'll
that.
come here first.
Maybe even
yeah.
the new helicopter next year. which-
Yeah, there we go.
But, so, thanks a lot.
It was, I think it was a neat night too. One of the cool things like this where the police are very visible, obviously this is how we ended up getting the upgraded ATV vehicle for the police department too, which is pretty neat. From what I understand, the chief was telling me last time that someone had met the chief on one of our festivals or whatever and said, you know, you guys need to upgrade your current ATV situation. And somebody said, well, we don't have the money, because come talk to me, and there's some grants. It's through Yamaha, I guess, was that who
Yeah.
did it, chief?
Yeah.
So, we really appreciate that you guys are out in the community and really getting to meet people, and you never know what good things are gonna happen when you're out there like that.
That ATV sure got a lot of attention. People were coming up to us all night long commenting on how neat it was and how nice it looks. So, yeah, it was good to have.
That and the Junior CSI Academy too, I know got a lot of good press at night too.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
thank you for all your attention.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much, and then, I think there are some agreements in for Springfield. I think maybe just some people have changed, and of course,
Okay.
you're coming on new, so they were supposed to kind of notify us ahead of time, if I recall, so, yeah.
Okay.
Chief, maybe next meeting, get your feel, you've been here a little while, what you're thinking on, you know, what do you see as the problems in the town and things like that too, so things we can start helping you with. Just some
Okay.
things that could be helpful. Just a
Absolutely.
general sense, would that be okay with the council to hear, something like that?
Sure.
Leo, is that cool? Okay. Great, thanks.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, I think that's it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Chief. Thanks, Chief.
So treasurer report, tonight, we didn't have all the details to put together yet due to the audit, so stay tuned for a double report next month. Council committee reports. I'll start with you, Leo.
Main Street, obviously we've got the Chili Cook-Off Festival coming up this weekend. I'll let Al talk about that, or not this weekend, but September 6th. I'll let Al talk about that. The organization committee, We're starting a holiday decoration fundraiser. I think this is hopefully going to be a good annual event. I'll pass these down. John Kachik, the artist who's done a lot of work for us, has done a design, we'll pass those out that way, for what we hope to be an annual Sykesville holiday decoration. Obviously, that's, the way it printed out came out much bigger, but that's going to be basically a Christmas tree ornament for Sykesville Main Street, and we're hoping to sell those as donations of $20 a piece, with all the money going to the Main Street Holiday Fund, and we're hoping to raise $3,000 as part of that to, upgrade the Christmas lights and that sort of thing for Christmas. They're going to be produced by the Charleston Mint, but really like to thank John Kachik for the design and Ivy for working with him on that. Economic development, there's going to be 2 new businesses opening. They're going to have their grand openings on the next First Friday, which is September 1st. And I believe they're right next to each other. That's a Monday?
September 5th,
We put that down as the First Friday. Whatever the next First Friday is,
September 5th.
September 5th. Wind River, which is a women's clothing store. And there's a salon for men that will also be opening. We don't have the name yet, but those will both have their grand opening on Friday, September 1st. The salon will be where Punch used to be. I believe Wind River will be right next to that. We'll have live music that evening by the usual suspects, and hopefully we'll have a good turnout. Ivy, do you know if they're going to do ribbon cutting, or is it just
Yes.
okay. So we'll do a ribbon cutting there as
Wind
well.
River's actually open for business, they just are having their grand
It's a
opening.
soft opening.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
They don't want to really publicize it that much because they don't have their full inventory, but their grand opening will be that night with the scissor cutting, yeah.
The design committee's going to be working on the phone booth with painting and adding additional information and signage to the phone booth that's in the Pocket Park, as well as working on painting the benches in the Fountain Park. And the Green Committee, this Saturday at the gazebo, will be having a canning program, teaching you how to make and can homemade tomato sauce. That is from 10 a.m. to 12:30. There'll also be a kids' craft area for making a terrarium. And if people are interested, they would like an RSVP so they know how many supplies they will need for that. And that's this Saturday, 10 a.m. to 12:30.
And that ribbon cutting was at 7, correct? On First Friday.
The ribbon cutting, yeah, Ivy, do you have a time for that? 7 o'clock. Thanks.
Speaking of grand openings, I know French Twist, they've had a soft opening. Are they going to do a grand opening too, or are they just too busy to, they're too busy to have a grand opening?
Busy. Right now, most of her staff has left for college and they go back to school, so she's trying to hire right now, so.
So good jobs available in Sykesville, is that what you're saying?
Actually, there's a lot of, Bex is hiring, there's a few places that are hiring because of the staff's going back to college. But she will be having a grand opening as soon as she gets.
She has time.
Yeah.
So
HTC?
the Historic District Commission last met on July 22, 3,
For that.
2. With, July 22, with, oh my goodness, I'm sorry, July 23rd. And we reviewed 4 applications and approved 3 of the 4, mostly for signage, including the new businesses on Main Street and their signage. A replacement on a roof in Norwood, on our inn at Norwood. And an application for demolition at 7422 Springfield Avenue was tabled for further due diligence to be done by the homeowner to try to save the building and find interested buyers perhaps who would be interested in saving the home. And that was the last meeting. Our next meeting is coming up here on August 26th. Thank you. Here at 7 o'clock on August 26th.
And the update on the historic preservation.
I don't know if I want to do that now. Okay. So several weeks ago, it was brought, the commission was presented a grant, to the mayor and town council. A grant to be considered in the amount of $750 At that point, the mayor and town council requested the Historic District Commission review the grant procedures so that we could determine how the grant could be issued, and also the definition of hardship, which is a consideration in the provision of that particular grant process. The commission, the Historic District Commission reviewed the definition of hardship, and we determined that the hardship is in and of itself the cost of repair to keep within the Historic District Commission's guidelines, since the cost to improve or maintain historic homes within the historic district normally cost greater than those to replace or repair or maintain outside of the historic district. So that was our definition of hardship. And the commission decided on the following additional procedures at our last meeting. First being that each household might only make one application per fiscal year. And the second one was that for fiscal year 2015, kind of as a pilot year, we're going to notify grant applicants that final award amounts are contingent upon the allocation of resources from the mayor and town council. There is currently $750 within the fiscal year 2015 budget for the HDC grant program. And again, we'll be using that as a pilot this fiscal year. And if there's a large demand for grant funds, because there hasn't been to this point, the mayor and town council may take that into consideration into future budgeting. And the final thing I guess we should talk about is that previously the commission had met and reviewed the definition and determined that the procedures should help owner-occupied residents as an incentive to help defray the cost to maintain their homes in the historic district, as an incentive to owners of residential owner-occupied dwellings within the historic district to help defray the costs associated with conformance to historic district preservation guidelines. The Sykesville Historic District Commission will make available a grant equal to 10% of the eligible project totaling less than $5,000 with a maximum award per project of $500. Are there any questions that the mayor or town council may have for Ms. Stacy Link?
Does that not still affect our ordinance as far as the amount of the grant?
I think the amount says that no, it may not exceed, wait, okay.
May not exceed 750.
Well, it's actually, there's a more up-to-date version at 1,200, but it's still the same, it's not, the award's not going to exceed that, either amount, 750 or 1,200.
Okay. Okay.
Because it should be $500
Maximum.
maximum per,
Right,
based on how much money we have budgeted.
okay.
Any questions on that? Okay, the WDC has not met since our last meeting, I don't think, right? Okay. However, there's ongoing discussions and things with the Warfield Collaborative that we've been working on, so we'll keep you updated as soon as we can. And make sure you buy your ornament. Get in on this early, it's gonna be a collector's item, right, first one.
Absolutely.
You don't want that to run out, so other than that, Frank?
You're good?
Do,
Okay. Milton Memorial and the Parking Committee. Milton Memorial, I've been meeting with Dawn, and I know she's been working with our last holdout, Frederick Brick Works, and I think we, what, 118 bricks and gray bricks, is that what we had, was the final total?
I thought it was more like 140 or so.
Was it 40? Okay, so it was a last minute push without a few more, so we'll get you the exact numbers. And then I know she's been working getting the order off with,
The order is off.
the order is off. Good. So it's off and running, we're waiting on that. And the star's been ordered, the
And it's-
pavers have been ordered, and everything's been ordered, so now we're waiting for all to come in and put together. And we'll invite the Boy Scouts and everybody when we do a grand opening of the new Milton Memorial, so we'll let you know about that too. Might be fun to come out and see that for the dedication of that. So, but, it's probably gonna be 4 to 6 weeks off, depending on how things go with the government, you know how, they're not always the quickest. Anything else on the Milton Memorial? Or- Okay, so tune in soon. Parking Committee, I've talked to both, Rose Topper, who's got a survey that she's been using and talking to a lot of the businesses about parking in the town, and Ivy, and we're gonna have an open meeting for anybody that's got any thoughts on improving parking in the town on September 22nd at 6 o'clock. And so that's 1 hour before the town council meeting. That's the 4th Monday of September, and everybody in the town is invited. I know Anna Carter has been interested in and attending that also too. But if anybody's got any ideas or thoughts on parking and how to improve parking in town, we'd love to have you. We've got some striping that's gonna be going on, a lot of good things are going on, and we've got a lot of ideas that we're gonna take best practices from. So September 22nd at 6 o'clock.
Okay, Planning Commission met on August 4th. The county is working on their master plan update, so they're going to have the citizen meetings again, and it looks like September 17th at the Mount Airy Senior Center is going to be the closest one for us to attend. We discussed the master plan amendment for Warfield and the implications for the zoning ordinance as well, and we're going to touch on that in our first item of business. Our next meeting is September 2nd because September 1st is a holiday, Labor Day.
Okay, Friday, August 8th, I met with Kevin and Tyler, the skateboard liaisons. Dawn actually joined us for a good meeting. It was a good, productive meeting, talking about what they want to do, stuff that's going on. Dawn's going to follow up on some things. We're meeting again first Friday in September. Promotions Committee did not meet August 6th. There was too many people who were going to be missing the meeting. The meeting has been rescheduled for August 19th, right here, 7 o'clock. And basically, we'll be going through the chili cook-off event and all the planning and itinerary of events for that day. Also, Main Street would like to show the appreciation of the town residents of Sykesville and buy the residents over 21, of course, one beer. You need to come down to the townhouse Monday through Friday between 9 to 5 up till Thursday, September 4th, and show proof of residency and, of course, proof of age. And Ivy will give you a coupon to do that, and we hope you do that. Again, it's August 19th for the Promotions Committee meeting, and we need volunteers, so anybody wants to come down and attend that, that'd be great.
Can you just come 6 times?
One per resident.
Right.
One per resident, Mr. Mayor.
All right. And then, all the committees can always use volunteers for our Main Street Committee, so keep that in mind if you would like to get involved. We got the Promotions Committee, Economic Development, Design Committee, and what's the other one? One more? So
Organization.
Organization, so, lots of stuff going on with Main Street. Ivy's doing a great job with keeping that together, and we can always use more volunteers. So if you or you know anybody who can get involved, help us out. It's a fun, good time to find out what's going on in your town and get involved without a huge commitment, because I know everybody's busy, but it's a great time to get involved, so keep that in mind. All right, so our first order of business this evening, well, should we do the announcements first? Let's do the announcements real quick, and then we'll get rolling. So on Saturday, September 6th, again, the Chili and Beer Festival will take place in the Sandusky parking lot behind Beck's Restaurant. Looks like to be a good time from noon to 5. So come on down, taste some chili and some craft beers and stuff. A ribbon cutting will take place at the South Branch Park for the opening of the playground. We'll have more details on that. We haven't been able to get a time confirmed, but we're hoping to have the Howard County Executive down and, for the initial opening when we get the playground piece done. It's going to be pretty exciting, so stay tuned for that. Monday, September 8th is the next Mayor and Town Council meeting. And then the Farmers Market's been being held every Sunday, 9 to 1, down on Baldwin's.
2.
Oh, 9 to 2, that's right. They changed it. An extra hour for your convenience. So come on down to that. It's been a huge success. The Pickle Lady's been off the
Crazy.
charts. Yeah,
Crazy.
so lots of other great vendors. It's been a really, really great time. So thanks, Ivy, for all your efforts on that, too. She's done a good job at getting that thing really off this year. So come on down and support that and get some great fresh fruit and stuff. Lots of other stuff, too. Town's making arrangements to restripe the McElroy parking lot this fall. Business and property owners will be notified in advance to move the cars. So just be aware of that and keep your eyes out. So, Ivy, you had something on that?
There's one announcement I'd like to make. I didn't realize Anna wasn't going to be here, but there's a one last concert in the park this Friday night featuring Crossfire. That was the band that used to play at concerts in the park before the kids went off to college. So now they're back. We're doing a reunion concert this Friday night. So it's kind of the back to school night. So it should be a really good time. So that's Friday, Cooper Park, 7 o'clock.
All right. Crossfire, right?
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, Patrick Kaminsky went off to Harvard. He got a scholarship to Harvard. So
Oh,
he's
wow.
coming back to play. And the rest
That's
of the
pretty
boys,
cool.
And Tay Jacoby, she sings for the band. So yeah, it's a good time.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
So come on out for that too. Be a good time. Okay, so our first item of business tonight is the Warfield Master Plan and Zoning Ordinance Amendment Schedule. So I did see Sean pop in. You're here, yep. So Sean Davis from Morris and Ritchie Associates is here to present and to provide initial thoughts on revising the master plan regarding Warfield, and then get the mayor and council feedback, and a draft schedule of the master planning and zoning ordinance will also be proposed. And this information was presented to the planning commission and approved on August 4th. So, Sean, it's all
Mayor.
yours.
Members of the council, good evening. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak with you. I believe in your package there were two attachments. One is a color-coded schedule. It is 3 pages long. And then the second is a cover memo from me with a series of attachments that I think total 5 or 6 pages. So what I'd like to do is go through the schedule with you first and then talk about the initial thoughts. From a scheduling standpoint, the way we've color-coded this is that anything that you see in yellow really deals with, that topic is for the master plan update. Anything that you see in orange is really associated with the subsequent zoning text and plan amendments that we'll be talking about. The green indicate planning commission meetings, and the red indicate mayor and town council meetings. So we try to keep this as straightforward as possible. One thing to point out is that on the second page of the schedule, although those show up as yellow, they're really both yellow and orange, because those are both talking about both the master plan and the zoning, which we'll talk about in a second here. So as you mentioned, we met with the Planning Commission on August 4th and introduced the schedule and our initial thoughts with the Planning Commission. We're here today to meet with you, talk about the same thing, get your thoughts and input. That will finalize the schedule and give me some direction in terms of your thoughts on my initial thoughts. Then we are going to have a workshop at the Planning Commission on the 19th of August. It's just going to be dealing with the master plan amendment. By that point in time, we'll have reviewed the entire master plan and we'll propose all the recommended modifications to the master plan. Have an opportunity to talk through that and work with them. We would then meet with them again on September 2nd and review and approve the master plan amendment text and map change. Then the intervening, what you see here in white, is kind of back of house stuff that we're going to be doing. We're going to meet with Episcopal Ministries to the Aging, talk to them about master plan modification. There's some statutory timing requirements that are in the state enabling legislation regarding master plan amendments, and sending it out to adjacent jurisdictions and the state for their review and comment. So that's really all of the white is kind of back of house stuff that Dawn, Dennis, and I will be working on. Then we pick back up on the 16th of September with a workshop to talk about the zoning, our initial thoughts on the zoning ordinance amendment, zoning ordinance and map amendment. And then we'll come back again and we're going to actually have 2 workshops on the zoning ordinance amendment. We'll be back again on October 20th. And then ideally on November 4th, the Planning Commission will review and, if agreeable, recommend adoption of the master plan and zoning ordinance amendments to the legislative body, to the mayor and council. We will be introducing the master plan amendments and the zoning ordinance amendments on November 10th to mayor and council for your review. We'll have a public hearing on the 24th. On both of those as well, and then ideally the vote would come for those on either the 24th or December 8th, if we'd like to hold it off to the next mayor and town council meeting. Ideally, the goal of this is to end up with the updated master plan and the updated zoning text and maps by the end of the year. That is our goal. Okay. Any questions on the schedule? You'll notice when we have identified, especially for the Planning Commission, there's several dates that are tweaked, as Julia mentioned, that the next meeting would be on September 2nd, which is the Tuesday after Labor Day. So we've identified those, either it's an additional meeting or it's a changed meeting. But fundamentally, I think all of the mayor and town council meetings remain on mayor and town, on the regular meeting dates, on your regular meeting dates, which is great, okay? So are there any questions regarding the schedule?
So I guess my only question is, so are we gonna get some time to review once we get the planning commission stuff done? Like, will we be able to comment on that, like, once, you know what I mean, before it's all final?
At the planning commission, before it's all final?
Well, like, before the planning commission, I guess, once they get a final draft, will we get a chance to look at that prior to seeing it at the mayor and town council meeting? I mean, as far as, or would that be our first, and then we'd have another meeting?
No, I mean, we can give you the information as contemporaneously with the planning commission, so you can be involved and, you know,
Yeah.
and up to date, and see the progression of, you know, the discussion. It's up to you. If you would like to do that, we'd be delighted to do that.
Well, I'd simply like to just do that so we could have time to, if we had any comments,
Yeah,
we could plug
perfect.
them in, or just be made aware of them, I mean.
So you want them handed out, do you want them to be agenda items or just distributed?
Yeah, just maybe so we could see them. I don't know that we need to have it as an agenda item, just in case, that way, once it starts to get coming together, myself and the council can kind of see, and then at that point, you'll probably see more of the final thing, if you have comments before it gets all finalized.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, that's great.
all right.
So you're
Okay.
just talking about getting like an email of documents
Yeah,
up there.
yeah.
Are most of them electronic documents?
Yeah.
Pretty much?
Yeah.
I mean, after you get done through, yeah, so.
We can
we'll-
easily make them an electronic PDF. and we can
right.
Shoot out. I'll
Just
send
to
it to
get-
Dawn. Dawn can send it to everybody. You can review it if you have any questions.
Yeah, that way you
can
get a little
contact me.
time to see it before it just
Before the
doesn't pop
public-
up on your table, yeah, and then,
I agree.
and if you got some
Good
comments.
idea.
Okay,
Great,
all right.
definitely, we'll do
Other than
that.
that, I mean, the schedule looks
Could-
pretty,
Could you just highlight when there will be public hearing times so that the public is
Yes.
aware of the chances to provide input as well? Besides all the meetings that are open to the public anyway.
The planning commission meeting in November, on November 4th, is not only a public meeting, but that's also, I believe, a vote of the planning commission on the amended master plan and the zoning ordinance. So it's not necessarily a hearing, but it's a vote, okay? So to make sure that everybody understands that. And then the public hearings, the one public hearing on both the master plan and the zoning amendment before the mayor and council is on November 24th.
And then the schedule also has public hearings on October 6th for the Planning Commission to get any preliminary input again, so the public has a chance to comment early on.
Okay?
And
I'm
then
sorry.
also on November 4th, on the first page.
Yeah, the November 4th one we just talked about, but I thought that the October 6th through November 4th were more dates for the notices. But I'm with you. So, public hearings, October 6th, November 4th, November 24th. Okay? All right?
so if people would like to comment on the plans, you can come to the planning commission meeting.
Yep.
And then see what's going on and have comments at that point.
Now, the second part of or the second attachment that you received in your packet deals with some of the initial thoughts after reviewing the master plan. And, you know, fundamentally, it's a very sound master plan. It contains all the necessary parts. It's very well written. It's very obviously specific to Sykesville and the history of Sykesville, and embraces the unique nature of Sykesville, which is great. In looking at it and talking about the Warfield property, what we're trying to do is fundamentally three things, okay? The first one is, you currently, in the text of the master plan, on page 3-42, which is attachment A, and 3-43, you have what is identified as a planned employment center. It is a mixed-use zone. It is not a zone, it's a mixed-use land use designation, okay? It calls for the mixture of uses, provides for a variety of residential, commercial, and employment uses. This land use requires at least 3 out of the following 5 use categories to ensure an economically viable mixed-use development: retail sales, retail service, office, residential, hotel, and light industrial. So 3 of those 5 creates a mixed-use land use, and it's already in your master plan. It's already there. So what we would ideally like to do is take this particular section, these 2 pages, and just make sure that we've provided a little bit more clarity regarding potential residential uses in terms of densities permitted and whatnot. There's a floor area ratio, which is identified for all non-residential. So we'd like to have something similar for the residential so that you're protected. You know, it's here in the master plan. Everybody's agreed to so many homes per acre in the land use designation, okay? And that's wonderful, because when we started out this effort, I did not think that this was here. When I read the master plan, I was like, oh, fantastic. We already have a land use designation in your master plan that identifies it. Now, the second attachment is your actual comprehensive plan. And if you look at the designation of the Warfield property, it is this purple kind of crosshatched area. And it talks about an employment campus. Unfortunately, you don't have an employment campus land use designation in your master plan. So I believe that this was fundamentally a slight mistake. This should say, as opposed to employment campus, it should say planned employment center. If we make that modification, then the land use designation that's identified in the text is now appropriately identified on the map, okay? And so now we've got both of those. One additional thing to point out here, one of the things we've talked about, is that if you look at the property, what's called the EMA property, it's the area immediately adjacent to Warfield, between Warfield and Route 32. I'm sure you all know exactly where it is. If you look at it on this map, it is actually split land use designation. It has 2 land use designations. It has the employment campus, which will become the planned employment center, but it also has the conservation designation, okay? One of the things that we would like to do as part of this is basically take all of that property, all of the EMA property, and designate it as planned employment center. To just clean up that one. We believe the land use designation for conservation might have had to do with some wells that are located on site. And if that's the case, they will be protected through zoning and subdivision and a variety of other things. But for the land use designation, it makes most sense to just designate all of the EMA property as planned employment center. And then that way, everything's good with the master plan. So number 1 is tweak that text for planned employment center. Number 2 is identify correctly on your comprehensive plan that it's planned employment center and make that modification to the EMA property. And then the third area that we're going to focus on is going through all of the rest of the text and making sure if there is a reference to the Warfield property, that it makes sense. So if you look at the third pages, I've included pages 1-15 and 3-2. On 1-15, there's a specific reference that says Warfield Complex, the Springfield Hospital, which through the initial renovation of the complex has begun to expand Sykesville's economic base. Absolutely, perfectly correct. No reason to change that whatsoever. But then if you go to 3-2, the next page, under number 3, it says the town has annexed and commenced development of the Warfield Complex, 138 acres and 14 buildings that were once part of the Springfield State Hospital. Again, perfectly correct, 100% true. But then if you go to the next one, it says where a business and academic center is planned that can employ as many as 1,200 people. What we're suggesting is just to strike that last one, because it will have employment, but I don't want to, personally, I wouldn't want a reference that would make it sound like it's just an employment center. It really is a mixed-use center. So we're going to go through the entire text, all of the text, highlight these areas, give you our recommendations on what should be struck, what should be added, what should be just left alone. So now, ideally at the end, all the text is compatible with the land use designation and with the map. So those are our initial thoughts, and I'd love to get your comments.
No, that makes sense, because I remember back when we did this in 2010, we weren't even considering residential over there. It was all either business or hopefully, a college, satellite place, something along those lines.
Yep. And there's a number of references to the Warfield complex throughout the master plan. And so there's going to be a lot of pages in that, but ideally the majority of them will just say, okay, put a period here and strike this last sentence, and now it doesn't have a specific connotation to strictly employment. It talks about it as a mixed-use center.
You plan on getting rid of the brackets too next to Warfield Complex? Like, for instance, on the first page, it's Springfield Hospital. On the second page, it's a little more detailed. It's 138 acres, 14 buildings. I mean, Warfield Complex is the Warfield Complex, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we can clean it up as much as we'd
Yeah.
like. And the goal is to just identify these. We'll bring them before the planning commission and take comments just like that. Yeah, strike this, we don't need that, or add this. Great.
And just so the public knows, the intent of this is to kind of line up the zoning and the planning for the realities of the market. And so that's kind of what we're doing, is to try to clean up some of the zoning to better reflect today's development.
Yeah, I think as everybody on the council knows, maybe not everybody in the public, but I mean, there's been a number of conversations that have happened over the last year with a variety of different potential development partners, now focusing in with one development partner about the viability of strictly an employment campus. And the reality is, for Warfield and for much of the development that we're involved with, it is providing for a mixture of uses, residential, retail, employment. And the zoning ordinance that we're going to be developing is going to be there's going to be a lot more meat on the zoning ordinance than there is on this master plan. So although you may think that this is rather cursory, it's rather, there's not a lot of depth to this, it's important that we got to get the master plan correct, and then we got to get the zoning ordinance correct, and then those two tie together, and there's consistency amongst those, which is required by the state. So this is a relatively straightforward process with the master plan. The zoning ordinance is going to be a little bit more complicated, because we're going to be talking about the mixture of uses and height and setback and a variety parking and a variety of other things, which is a lot more detailed. So
Okay.
great, thank you very much.
Thank
Any
you.
additional questions before Sean goes?
We look forward to seeing you
Okay.
many times
Yes,
before the
sir.
end of the
Thank
year.
you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So Donna, I'm planning that you just send out an email blast before each meeting saying, hey, this is coming up. Okay, just want to make sure that's in the thing.
Will do.
I figured you would, but I just want to touch base on it.
Okay, stay tuned, lots on that subject, so stay posted. All right, our next item on the agenda is the Raincliff request for the Public Works Agreement amendment. The current Public Works Agreement provides for a deadline of July 31st, 2014 for the completion of the intersection. This is at Raincliff and Sandusky Road, the intersection right up here. So clearly, it also only allows 25 additional building permits to be released before the Raincliff intersection is substantially complete. 25 building permits have been released. Catonsville Homes is requesting the release of 7 additional permits. Frank Potapan from Catonsville Homes is here, and he's going to present and provide an update on the status and speak to that request. So Frank, it's all yours.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Chip, our site manager, and myself met with the mayor and Dawn last week to kind of give them an update as far as the status on the project. Currently, we're at the position where the new light poles have been installed. We're currently waiting for Verizon has some wires on the existing poles to be moved. We're expecting those to be moved this week. The other thing other utility we're waiting on is BG&E. We've put in for our service application for the meter for the new pole. And that went into their queue about a week and a half ago, and we should also receive that this week. Once we can transfer from the existing poles to the new poles, the existing poles, if you've been up there and taken notice, are actually in the travel lane.
Right.
So those need to be removed in order to take that next step. So once BG&E and Verizon take care of their issues, which we're expecting this week, we can remove those existing poles and start transferring to the new signaling and poles. So that's the signal component to the project, where we are with that. We did have a little bit of a hiccup in the design that we corrected and resolved last week. There was actually a water line that was, an existing water line that was installed, and the as-built showed it at a different elevation than was actually, different elevation than where it was installed.
1 second, Frank. So, just in case your car windows are open, it is raining, so they wanted to let you know, so if you left your windows open, roll up your windows.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll be back.
Back to the water lines.
And for the Boy Scouts, you know what he's talking about. This is the new intersection right near, when you go over to Freedom Park to go to the ball fields. This is what he's talking about. They're in charge of expanding this all out to make it nice and easy for everybody to go.
So we identified that the water line was at inappropriate elevation, and the problem was it was too high. We actually had to cross that water line, but because of that, it was only about 19 inches below grade. And, you know, hopefully we don't have too many extreme winters, but 19 inches is not enough cover for, so we actually came to an agreement with the county and did a cost share component with them in order to get that water line lowered, and that was done, actually they completed last Friday. So that's on the Raincliff side of 32.
How low did they go?
36
I
inches.
believe they went down 36 inches with it.
Good.
So that's the Raincliff side. The other thing that happens on the Raincliff side of the intersection is, if you've been out there and noticed that the curb that's installed is about 1.5 feet to 2 feet below the existing pavement. If you leave Freedom Park and you approach the intersection, if you notice, you kind of come up and it kind of comes up a knob. Well, that knob is going to be cut out, so it's going to be more of a continuous straight line in order to improve your sight line as you approach the intersection. So we get those existing poles that I mentioned earlier moved and out of the way and transferred to the new poles. Those, we can pave that area, and what'll happen is we'll pave one half of that, we'll cut down one half of that section of road, pave that, base coat it, transfer the traffic to the new area that was paved, and do the same to the other side. So that's the Raincliff side of the intersection. On the north side of the intersection, there's a guardrail that the State Highway missed in their review, and they've asked us to upgrade that, and we're in the process of working through that with them. The other thing, too, on the intersection that was brought up in our meeting is on the Raincliff and the Sandusky side of the intersection. There's a median that gets installed that'll be a grass median, and some question came up whether we plant trees in it or not, but it's identified as a grass median. Those will actually, once that base pavement goes down, they'll actually then cut out and install those medians. So that, yes, those are still on the plan. I know a couple of people have inquired about that. They're still to be done. And then the last thing is there's a fiber optic line, I guess I believe for the 911 service that comes down to the police department, that is in the state highway right-of-way in the grassy section. It's not in the pavement section, but it's in an area that we have to lay the slope back. We have to cut and reduce the grade slightly there. And by reducing that grade, there are some areas that wire may be exposed. So we've met with Doug Howard from the county to kind of review that, because that was just installed, I believe, 14 months ago. And, you know, this job's been on the books for 8 years, and for them to come in and install it in an area that didn't really make sense based on knowing what was coming. So that's why we've reached out to Mr. Howard on that. So with all that being said, the magic question is when. If we're 4 to 6 weeks, 4 weeks if only a minor hiccup here and there, and I think we've identified the 2 major hiccups that we've encountered, that water line and we're still waiting for Doug Howard, but on the fiber optic line. But again, that doesn't affect the paving section, the signaling. That's in a grassy area of the state highway right away. And then if we do encounter any more unforeseen, we'd probably be right about 6 weeks on it. So with that being said, any questions?
Thank you. Thank you for all your efforts on that. I know it's been
So I
like
think,
shepherding cats, herding cats there. I'm sorry. Go
yeah,
ahead.
go ahead. Yeah, there's been lots of
Been a
herding
lot of things,
cats.
yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing too that came up in our meeting is, there was a discussion about, the contractor who's working on a job. We've been using HTI on the job. And when we started the job, they told us, our proposed schedule was about the 3rd week of August for completion. So with a job that's 4.5 to 5 months with, the amount of rain we had earlier in the year, which was a little unseasonable, to be, 3 weeks behind schedule, I didn't think was very unrealistic. So they've been a great contractor to work with, and I've done a number of jobs in the county, similar type jobs in the county. So
Okay. We'll have public questions in 1 minute.
So, and I think the crux of the things is tonight is they'd like to get one more building released for the permits, correct? So there's 2 buildings left remain, two
yes, sir.
7-unit buildings remain, correct? So I think that's basically what he's here tonight, is to update you on the progress of the intersection, all the work they've done, and then kind of get approval to release this one building of 7 units, at least so they can keep that going. And that'll still have one that you'll need to get released, which kind of.
And again, I guess the reason for our request for that addition, release that 7-unit building is, we're now the middle of August. And in our world, we try to make sure things are under roof and closed up and the exterior is done before inclement weather, which, I always like to say it's the 1st of December, but it could be the middle of November or earlier. So that's really our concern is, would like to get that building, the exterior, be able to start it early enough in order to have that exterior pretty much complete by the time any inclement weather or colder weather might come in.
And I personally think you guys have done a good job at staying on, doing the best you can and following through with it in good faith. So, I mean, I don't see any reason personally to hold up those, hold that up. I'd like to see you keep moving. Are you comfortable, though, that we'll be able to get finished before we release the final 7?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So, any?
But are these lots that you've already sold?
Yes, they're, I believe 6 of the 7 are sold. So Ryan Homes, in their corporate history on Ryan Homes, about 20 years ago, they actually went through a bankruptcy. And because of their bankruptcy, they're not allowed to build houses specs. So they can't start a house with the intention that we will build it, they will come. They actually have, in their corporate charter now, because of that bankruptcy, they have to have so many pre-sales before they can actually start. If it's a single-family home, they couldn't start a spec. In a townhouse, they realize it's not a perfect world, but, so they require that 6 of the 7 are sold in order, before they could start it. They will start it with that 1 unit that's still not committed to.
Because you're advertising there's 6 more lots left, what are you telling those potential buyers in terms of time frame of construction for those?
Well, as I said, our expectation is that that intersection is going to be complete, all except for possibly some punch-out items within the next 4 to 6 weeks. So we know lights at the end of the tunnel. It's just,
Won't be long now is what they're telling me.
So, I guess just in full disclosure, and Frank Potapan is speaking about and his foremen who are on the scene are speaking from their day-to-day experience. But we also talked to State Highway to get their estimate of the time frame, and their estimate is 2 to 3 months. So, again, he's more on the scene, but I just want you to know that there's a range of opinions on the completion time.
That's if they need to get that guardrail worked out.
Well, again, if there isn't, like on the guardrail, again, that's in the grassy area. I mean, the pavement will be done, the striping will be done, the signal will be operational, and that's an item, we turned in plans to a number of different agencies for their review, the State Highway being one of them. It went through their review process, they sent it back, stamped it, said, go ahead, and at, this point in the process, after, 3 months into the deal, they questioned, it's mainly, I think, the height of the guardrail, and then also, I believe, their new design criteria. There's some, I don't know the correct terminology for it, but I'll call it a crush cushion that's usually mounted on the front side of the guardrail that they've questioned us about, so.
Okay, so any further questions at this point? Any public questions, did you?
That intersection, is that gonna be 2 lanes each direction, being that the rest of 32 seems to be headed that way for traffic flow?
It's not 2 lanes, through lanes. The main thing that we've done is add turn lanes, and dedicated turn lanes, so dedicated left lane, dedicated right lanes, and through lanes, as well as a bike lane in the process. So, we've been building in the Eldersburg area for 25 years, and they've been talking about widening 32 for 25 years.
Well,
And
the reason I ask is it kind of seems that the rest of 32 is headed that direction, and that has been thought for everybody that's lived here for years, that there's gonna be.
Well, unfortunately, they've had some deaths on 32, and because of that, they've gone in and I don't believe they've done too much as far as widening the paved section, but they've gone in and they've dedicated turn lanes down at Amber Woods and other locations along 32, which is probably something that should have been done 20 years ago, just for safety.
Any additional questions? Okay, so do we need a motion to,
Yeah, so we have an existing Public Works agreement amendment. This is going to be another amendment. Are we going to have to do, I'm looking to our town attorney in terms of, is a motion sufficient, or are we going to have to do another amendment?
We can move, amend the Public Works agreement. We can authorize the mayor to sign the the amendment, and authorize the release of
7?
7 additional permits, and have the amendment incorporate that concept. Now, we'll have to come back in final form if the mayor will have to approve to sign the amendment in form.
I think so. I'll make a motion to approve the mayor to approve 7 additional permits, to amend the PWA to approve for the approval of 7 additional permits. Is that the release of 7 additional permits?
You can authorize the mayor to execute an amendment.
Authorize the mayor to execute amendment.
Okay, so do we need, to the Public Works Agreement 2008-01?
Sir? There wasn't one here.
I think the one you have in front of you is titled Second Amendment, so this would be Third Amendment.
Third, okay. So, do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Any abstentions? So, 1 opposed, no abstentions. Okay,
Thank you, sir.
you're welcome. Thank you. Thanks for all the work on it. Keep working hard, man. We're counting on you.
We are too. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Okay, next item, we're gonna wait until Dawn gets back in, is for the fiscal year 2015 paving contract. Everybody get a chance to review the scope of the services? I did request that we get a chance to look at this so we could see what we're asking for. Because I've had questions in the past about how thick is the asphalt, what are the temperatures that can be put down, that kind of stuff. So we're gonna talk with, I know a little bit, I talked to Ron already a little bit, and I was gonna go through this. It's 25 pages of our specifications for these paving requirements. I haven't had a chance to review the whole thing, but I think some of those things I wanted to make sure temperature was addressed in there, because we've had problems in the past with blacktop going down when it was a little too cold. So, Dawn, you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, so we're on to the paving item, number 3.
Okay. So the town issued a request for proposals to do this year's paving plan. Let me just get the information. Where's my other? We received 5 bids ranging in amounts from $134,802 to $310,750. The low bidder was CPE Incorporated, and I recommend that you accept that bid and that we award the contract to CPE Incorporated.
Does anybody have any questions? And then I haven't had a chance, I was just commenting, I haven't had a chance to go through all the scope of the services. It's quite involved, so.
Thought you might be interested.
Yeah, so I am interested in, I just wanted to, is there specifications as far as temperature and all that?
Not in the scope
No.
of services. I did receive from our engineer the specs from the State Highway Administration, if you want to look through those. But I hadn't found the temperature specification yet in those.
So we're just gonna make sure that we kind of try to get those incorporated into the final, you know what I mean, agreement? Or
Right,
would
so
we-
I think that, and again, Dennis can correct me, but the idea is to, for the Mayor and Town Council to authorize awarding the contract with any additional amendments as recommended by the mayor and town manager.
Okay, that sounds like a good idea.
And
Have
when
we,
we,
have
when we
we-
open, they'll be able to start.
They're waiting for now, so we'll issue the notice to proceed, and then they'll have 45 days, roughly, depending on when we date that letter, but
Right, there it is in the project schedule, now I read it, thanks.
Okay.
Have we used CPE before?
They did the parking lot here, and then
That's
they've
what
done
he's
some other
talking
work
about,
too.
the temperature issue.
yeah, they,
Okay.
When they did
Now I
this.
remember.
they did the townhouse parking lot, and I believe they also did the Warfield Trail, or a portion of it.
Okay, so do we have a motion to award the,
Question.
Chris, has a question from the
oh,
audience.
oh, I'm sorry, Chris?
How much did we budget for roads? I'm taking a quick look, it looks like we budgeted $129,297 for roads, is that correct?
I think it was
No.
more than
I
that.
think it was 173 or 190.
Capital outlay, streets, roads, 129,297. Approved FY 2015 budget?
I'm not sure where you're getting that number, but it doesn't sound right to me. I can run upstairs, but,
You wanna run up and check it? You want us to run up and check it for you?
But is that gonna matter right now?
Yeah, absolutely, makes a
Okay.
difference,
Alright.
if it's only 129,
Oh, oh, wait, wait.
reallocate.
If we don't have enough money, right, based on what his comments is, we're short.
We'll get,
Yeah.
come on,
If we're-
Chris. If we're short, we're just gonna
Wrong column.
reallocate.
We're not sure.
wait, I'm,
The budget 157.
Right.
I
That
still don't,
sounds right. No?
I thought it was
No.
170.
no.
Either way, it's still more than what.
Right.
Did we
More
roll
than the
in,
bid, at least I knew that part.
did we roll in like maintenance into that? That was rolled
Yeah.
into that,
There might be some patching and paving on top of that 150.
that came into the 180.
Right, and we're doing some of that patching.
We're doing
and
all
paving,
that
I think,
at-
as part of this.
Yeah,
Right.
and it's still under the 150 before the additional.
No, it's 197.
Don, come back.
Listen,
Now's when we need to use that vent system that they use to listen in.
Yeah.
Dawn, you go back now. We have an interconnected vent system in the townhouse. Okay. All right, so do we have a motion to award the paving contract to CPE Inc. in the amount of $134,802?
So moved.
Second.
Along with authorizing amendments by the mayor
Correct, thank you.
and town manager.
Okay, as with amendments,
Yes.
okay. All right, so Al, motion, Leo seconded.
Yep.
Julie amended
Wait for
it.
Stacy to get back.
So he
I guess.
amended it.
Oh, okay, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? We'll have to wait one more. Are you in favor of?
Aye.
Aye, okay, all right. So the contract has been awarded to CPE
With amendments.
with the amendments,
Yes.
with the mayor and the town manager as needed. Okay. Next item is the personnel manual changes. And Dawn presented an overview of the personnel manual and proposed changes related to retirement benefits at the last meeting. The change was for the years of service language for vesting for the defined contribution plan was clarified. Is everybody in agreement with those changes that are proposed? I think we had discussion on this.
Yeah, that was just minor, I think, right? To make clarified first year 0. Okay.
Right, so I think, did you want to touch on
Just make
the
it the
highlights of
completion
this,
of
or is
first year.
everybody okay? I
Yeah,
think it
looks
was just
good.
the changes from people that
clear.
aren't into the state, or aren't eligible for state retirement, correct?
It was just the wording.
Correct. And there's also, there was a double addition to the revised version. So now there's a,
Revised.
There's a redundant statement above each chart that doesn't need to be there because it's in the verbiage above. So where
So-
it says an employee becomes fully vested following 4 years of service based on the following schedule, that's already stated in the above section. So
So
we're
we'll
going to
just-
remove that.
Sure.
but last time, there was just a confusion of when the
Right.
how the
Vesting.
vesting years fell, so we just clarified that language.
Yes, looks much
Yeah,
better.
this explains it better.
Nice job. I motion we adopt the new additions to this as stated in the forms.
Okay.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so we've adopted the retirement proposed changes.
Anything
All
else?
right,
Is that it?
We got done early.
Can the Boy Scouts
okay,
get
so
their merit
that's
badge
it,
now?
right? And then that's it for our open session. So are there any items in closed session that we're gonna be voting on? And then we need to redeclare the closed.
Do you want me to read that, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah. Dawn, will we be voting on any of these items?
Yes,
Closed
some
Yes.
personnel.
So there will be some personnel votes after our closed session, if you'd like to stick around for the results of those votes. And then, Al, go ahead and read the closed.
This meeting was proposed to be closed pursuant to the state government article of the annotated Code of Maryland, Section 10-508A, to discuss 1I, the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, designation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or officials over whom it has jurisdiction. Any other personnel matter that affects one or more specific individuals. Personnel, employee appointments, confidential personnel information.
Okay, thank you, so,
Motion for a 5-minute recess.
oh, one more.
Boys would like to stand up and address you all.
Oh,
Awesome,
sure.
cool, please.
Awesome, come on up.
Recess first. No, I'm just kidding.
Thank you for inviting us to the council meeting.
You're very
It's a
welcome.
pleasure to be here.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for
Thanks
coming.
for coming.
Thank you so much for coming. We're counting on you being the future leaders here, so keep coming and keep learning, and we look forward to seeing you sitting here when I'm older.
I appreciate your attention. It's hard to pay attention when things are being talked about that you're not completely on top of, so thanks for paying attention, guys.
And if you got ideas about the town, things to do better or whatever, let us know. We're always trying to do it better, okay?
Cool. Thanks for coming.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Good.
Okay.
Make that motion.
Motion for a 5-minute recess.
I'll second it.
Second, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? We're gonna take a 5-minute recess.
Good, thanks. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much for coming. It's great to have you.